Hey, we're back with the Heroes podcast. I'm so happy to be here. I've got Tim Strong as my new guest from Australia. How are you, Tim?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Andre.
Amazing. Before we go into your story, what I'll do, I'll just tell the audience about your background, and then we'll roll on with your troubles and struggles. So, Tim is a veteran of the building and construction industry, and he has first-hand experience with the high-pressure environments that can lead to issues such as stress, burnout, strained relationships, lack of communication, and suicide. It's really exciting because we do have a weekly series that you might want to check out on my YouTube channel because we started to bite-size all these experiences for you. So through his personal struggles, he has developed a passion for coaching, leadership, and his experience to help others overcome these challenges, achieve their full potential in all areas of life. Do you want to tell us, Tim, your background, where you come from, and maybe take us back to some hard lessons?
Yeah, 100%. So my background obviously has been in the construction industry for the last 22 years. I started as a carpenter working on the tools, and then I sort of moved my way into commercial construction, which was more office-based duties. Where I learned the operation of being able to manage bigger teams and bigger projects. So the journey sort of like really back then for me was I moved into the commercial construction later in life, like I'm in my late 20s. So I felt like I was behind the game. So I had to sort of work pretty hard. So I worked my way through a number of different construction companies. I did sort of 3 years here, 2 years over here, 3 years in another company. And I went through from learning from being a cadet all the way through to being a project manager, and then obviously eventuated as a construction manager, which was managing big projects in the industry. Then in 2010, I had the opportunity to, I suppose, come together with my brothers, and we formed a company called Strong. Um, and in that company, it was predominantly back then, it was high-end residential. So we bought what my brother was doing on the south coast of Sydney to Sydney and started doing a lot of medium density, so larger scale housing developments from 20 houses up to 136 houses at a time. That obviously worked well with my older brother and I's, background in the commercial space. My older brother did a lot of high-rise apartments back in his time with other builders, and also in his previous companies. So we literally grabbed what my brother had, which was around about probably 17 staff, and we were probably turning over around about probably $8 to $9 million. And over 5 years, we grew that to just under 200 staff and a $300 million turnover a year business. So yeah, it took a toll. I saw a lot. We grew our business into three different divisions, which was our housing and our commercial business, which is our high-rise businesses. And then we maintained our custom homes and our boutique home division. And then we bolted onto the side of that a manufacturing business. So the reason we did that and we sort of put the manufacturing business on the side was predominantly we saw a big hole in the market where we saw that carpenters were going to become scarce, tradies were going to become scarce. The cost of a tradie back then was like $43 an hour. Right now, you're paying about $136 an hour. So we saw the industry sort of moving. And so we went to Europe and grabbed all these robots and technology and brought it to Australia. Now, we were the innovators. We were the real pioneers in the industry to bring this kind of methodology to Australia. And it brought its challenges. I'll tell you
That's
what.
that's really powerful. Do you want to tell us about those challenges? You mentioned it took its toll when you had to do this impressive growth. What have you experienced? as a business owner, business leader, and what was the worst of it?
Yeah, look, a lot of it was probably the people. How to grow people as quick as we're getting work, maintaining our cash flows. So as we were growing and increasing our project size, there's a lot difference between a project that's, say, $1 million project and a project that's a $60 million project, and growing that through. Culture was a really big thing. We probably had 3 major goes at trying to understand what culture really is, and understanding and identifying that, and bringing that culture through from the directors and the operators of the business through to the team. So if we were promising something to a client at the front end, we want to make sure that we can deliver that same promise. And the only way we saw that was culture. So we hired and obviously had to fire, a number of people, through our journey. And I think the hardest thing, through that is getting the right people that fit the mold for the vision of what you are trying to do within the business. That caused a lot of dynamics and a lot of fallout, and even to the point, it actually caused a lot of other staff stress when you bring on a certain person and they're just not carrying the weight. So the old staff that have been there for a while that have helped support grow the business had their nose out of joint, so we were actually applying a lot more stress on the people that were actually the backbone of the business. So really understanding that and being able to act quick enough and realize what you're doing is for the business and it's not personal. That was a big thing. And systems and structure, being able to adopt and build the systems as quick as the business is growing. And that was bringing software in for, around the project management and stuff. Look, we burnt $1.6 million on software. Like, we literally had to throw a piece of software that we'd started developing in the bin because it wasn't able to achieve what we were sold that it would. So there's a lot of times where we were having to reinvest and continually invest all the retained earnings of that business into what we were trying to deliver through our manufacturing, through our systems operations, our financial systems and modeling, and especially our people. Like, there's a lot more money that goes into growth than what I think a lot of people understand, as you're going through that, which actually end up putting financial stress on our business. And in 2019, we end up having to put our business into voluntary administration, because we had an issue with a client. And one of our clients, I suppose, was given some unsolicited information from a third-hand accountant, and didn't really see the big picture, and actually terminated one of our contracts. And this was all through the media as well. And it was terminated on convenience. But these guys didn't really understand what was really going on in our business, that we were just refinancing because we'd put $16 million of our retained earnings into this manufacturing facility, and we needed to get that out. Anyway, they wouldn't budge. They terminated the contract, so we had to manage our way through that, and resurrect the manufacturing business, and our housing business on the South Coast. But our commercial business, we had to actually let go of, and support the clients to finish their jobs, and then actually shut that part of the business down. Now, in this process, mate, like, as we're going through that, within 6 weeks after going into that situation of stress, my brother, who was my business partner, obviously a childhood cancer came back. So he was the healthiest specimen and human being that I've ever known. But stress is what got him and brought that cancer back for sure. Now, within 12 months, he had passed away. So I had to make some big calls on what we're going to do with the business on the South Coast. And I ended up handing that business to somebody else, because at the time I couldn't mentally, emotionally keep that business going, for what it actually needed. So we ended up basically, I suppose, giving it to our main supervisor that worked under my brother. And we then put all the work over into that business and let that business keep operating to keep on providing the product that we do provide on the South Coast. So, mate, through that, there's a whole lot of challenges, definitely within the stress and the ability of what it took and a toll that it took on our bodies and the toll that it took on our families through the whole process of the growth of that business.
Can you be more specific? What were the challenges in areas of your life while going through this roller coaster and letting go that commercial part of the business?
For me, yeah, I went into protection mode of the business and probably put my family second best. I let my health go. I ended up in hospital in that 12 months. Well, I'd say 2 months after the business went down, I had a minor heart attack. So I was in hospital with that, and then the following year, I had continual issues with my heart. And I was in and out of hospital probably on 4 different occasions, battling with that kind of stress. Personally, yeah, like the money, the money and the income wasn't coming in for the family that it was beforehand. That really psychologically was, digging away at me because I'm a provider and I've always been that provider for my family. I'd say, it's saving grace for me is that I've always had good coaches in my corner to help support me through those kind of mindset. I'd even say at the time I wouldn't have said it, but like if I look back now, over a 12-month period, I dove into a fairly deep depression. And I was very sturdy back then to say, what is depression? I never believed in depression. I never believed that it could affect us. So I wasn't willing to face it. And then, yeah, my relationship was getting tense. I wasn't able to be there for my kids. I was living away from home a lot of that 12 months to down the South Coast and back in Sydney. But then when my brother passed away, mate, I literally, that was the nail in the coffin for me, like where I just felt like, why is the pressure of this whole world on top of me? And I was questioning everything. Like, why would God take my brother? Why would that happen? The business is gone. My brother's gone. Yeah, man, I was probably in the darkest place that I've been, in my life.
How did you come through it? What were the biggest factors for transforming yourself into, let's say, the new version of you, who you are today?
Yeah, look, I've always loved a good fight. And I just knew that I had to get back on top. I wasn't willing to let go of the dream and the vision of having something big. A lot of the team that stayed around at the back end of that business and where it was really supported me in having the ability to have faith and that the vision could still survive. We found investors to come in and support getting the manufacturing business back going again. And I was, I suppose, relieved to a point. I wasn't willing at the time to go back into the forefront of construction at that point in time. So yeah, I suppose with that little bit of hope, I then, first of all, what I actually really did, everything that we had at the time, like I did some contract work and got a little bit of money in, and everything else that we did have, I put it into my wife and the business that she wanted to grow, which are sort of float sauna and massage centers. So I did her first opening. So I went and did her fit out for her and got her going. And that was part of my way of saying to her, listen, babe, thank you for putting up with all my stuff over these last, decade or two. It's now your opportunity to have a crack. I felt like I failed, in my approach. So I wanted to give her a crack. So I did that, but then at the same time that happened, investors came in. The excitement of getting back, the factory going and getting timber structures going in Australia, because we were the pioneers in timber structures, in Australia, building large scale, 10-story buildings out of timber and not concrete. So I didn't get out of the saddle. I literally just got straight back into the saddle again and started growing the business from scratch. Relocated into a bigger factory, got more machinery, built the team back up, and then we got going again. I suppose having the team to support me, having the fact that like we'd already built a lot of systems and structure, and taking that with us was a big thing. Clients out there were really excited to see the products back and really supported us and got behind us. Which was great, because the first thing you can actually really do is just want to hide. You literally don't want to, for me to go to the shops, I was like worried of what people thought of me. I really was. And so to get back out there and start putting myself back out into the market, within 12 months, was daunting, but, I was prepared to do what it took, because I wanted to provide for my family. And I think that is the biggest thing. And the biggest thing, when my brother passed away, this was part of his dream and vision as well. So I had that spirit inside me that I wanted to see this work, and because it was the factory was sort of his baby, his vision for why it was where it was, and I just wanted to see the thing work and get off the ground, from that point of view.
What an amazing story, especially that you have come through it with a heart attack. Because people sometimes don't survive heart attacks. So what are you doing these days? Who are you helping, or what are you focusing on?
Yeah, so we got that factory back up and going, and then I stepped out of that business. Was it probably mid last year? And in the process, I've been supporting clients. Like I've got a client at the moment that does NDIS development. So working with a client like that to help build and sculpture how a business works and operates from that point of view, and how we can fabricate like sort of prefabricated products into their system, so they can deliver houses quicker for people with disabilities. So I took some time off end of last year to get my health right, because since everything from 2019, I just kept going and going and going. So I had 6 months off, really deep diving on my health. I did a 40-day fast. I have done a lot of mindset work. I've done a lot of I suppose healing, deep healing inside myself. I dropped 23 kilos of body weight. I'm feeling fantastic and training. And so since I've been back out of that, I am consulting back into construction businesses and contracting businesses, helping them support them, basically go through, look at their goals, look at their operational reviews. I've been going through their systems, their finances, helping them create, good culture and how to basically hire and fire the right people, and then redefining their products to make sure that they're working not on something that completes their ego, but something that's going to be profitable for the brand, and building a proper brand, because a lot of people out there, they do what's easy for them, but it's not always the one that's the most profitable. When they've got a team that's skilled, that can be doing a lot easier processes, a lot easier products than what they're currently doing. So I've got a number of clients, throughout the construction industry, and I've even got clients at the moment. Like, so I'm working with 2 young ladies at the moment that are starting off a fuller bust lingerie brand, which has also got manufacturing involved in it and stuff like that. So I'm working and I'm advising onto their company, and they're looking at going global with that business. And again, I'm helping with them with how to get equity and how to get finances into their business, supporting them along that journey. And then others I've been helping because of the skill set I learned at the back end when businesses get in trouble, how to restructure. So I do support clients here and there, helping them out with advice on the best way to restructure their companies if they are in trouble.
Wow. And what would you be celebrating in 5 years' time? If things went really well for you.
What was the question?
What would you be celebrating in 5 years?
Celebrating. Look, in 5 years' time, I want to be celebrating having a company filled with people that are supporting and bringing harmony to people's life. And that is not always just about the revenue and the profit in the back pocket. It's about how can we help people support people have operational systems within businesses that brings harmony. One, their connection to the business, their connection to their partner and loved one, and their connection to their kids, and also experiencing what life's got for them. So in 5 years' time, I want to be celebrating having a very large organization of people that have got really defined skill sets that are supporting people to bring harmony to their lives.
Oh, I love that. I want to be one of those. I realized I do have someone for you who is working on NDI's project in Australia. And how can one get engaged with you? What's your website? What's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, right now, the best way to contact me is through my mentor website, which is men-tor.au. Now, my details are on there, or otherwise through my social media, which would be my Instagram page, which is tstrong with a O at the end. You can find me on there, and also find me on Facebook. But Instagram or the mentor right now would be the 2 points to find me. And I am currently in a redevelopment of one of my other websites, which will sort of talk about more the business structures and the business we're doing. And the mentor one right now, it's really more focused. That one's like my men's retreats and my men's work stuff that I've been working on for the last sort of 12 months as well.
What are the 3 things that comes to your mind that if someone is in that stage where there's overwhelm, they're losing their business, restructuring is needed, there is massive stress. What are the 3, 4 things they could do right now?
The first thing is actually reach out and find the right people around you that you can talk with. The first thing that you want to do is become a recluse. The first emotion that you'll struggle with will be shame. And the best thing to battle that is to actually get around the right people and talk about it. Hiding from it doesn't help. Restructure isn't as complicated as you perceive it to be. There are systems and processes in Australia that help support you go through restructures. The government, ultimately don't really want to be putting undue stress on people and understand that mistakes happen. So I just say, like, the same thing when you've accidentally had a car accident and you've hit the back of someone's car. It's not an end of life scenario. You swap details, you're insured, and you move on. Now, business is very similar. It's just that we find our whole identities wrapped up in our business. So we see that we're losing more than just a business. We feel like we're losing our identity. I went through that. And it was a big thing. And it took me a number of years to realize that my identity was my business. So I'd say, to just be aware of that and don't shut down. If your partner isn't part of your business, then make sure you start talking to your partner straight away, because you don't want to isolate your relationships, because that is an easy way to do. So I don't want to talk. I don't want to put stress on her or him. Now, talking and communicating isn't deferring the stress. It's actually taking the stress off you, and it's what your partners actually want to do. And the more you guys talk about it, the more that you'll find that you will come one and understand how to attack and how to change and how to get through the scenario versus isolation that will create disconnection. So you won't just have disconnection in your business, you'll have disconnection at home, which means then you'll start disconnecting from yourself. And be aware of the triggers. And honestly, just take a breath. You don't need to move as quick as you have to, and just make sure that you really do your due diligence on the people that are coming in to support you. Because I learned the hard way back in the back end of Strong Build, and we engaged some people at the back end of that actually took us for a ride. And didn't do the right thing ethically, didn't do the right thing for the business, and didn't do the right thing for the suppliers and contractors. So it's actually getting people to support you, make sure you pick the right people. And that's the biggest thing. I always say, get the pit crew around you, build the right people. And that's what I am doing, and that's what I want to be doing moving forward is helping people do that, with having clarity on how to do it, and battling the battlefield, because it really is a battlefield, and there is certain ways to show up, and there's definitely ways not to show up as you go into that, because of the confrontation. And just be aware of your emotions, because and from your emotions, be careful of anything else that will creep in, like alcohol, drugs, the wrong foods, because everything outside you might be sick, but you don't want to make yourself sick. And that's the easy thing that you can do, because self-abuse is typically the way that we deal with ourselves as humans.
What an eye-opening conversation, especially this last part. You have given us so much wisdom and gold nuggets to deal with issues and situations that are unprecedented in a person's life. Is there anything else, Tim, before we finish, that I didn't ask, or that you wanted to share before we move on?
I'll just say, like, if you are in a situation and you are listening to this, and even if you know somebody that is struggling within their businesses, typically you'll find that people won't talk about their business, but you'll see they've got pain in their relationships. Have a conversation. Be open to talk to people about what is going on. And if they like, most people will want to talk once they hear someone actually being sincere and non-judgmental around them. Don't go in with judgment, just go in with sincerity and open up the conversation, because you never know what pain people are dealing with, especially when it comes around the business and relationships. So, and outside of that, if there are people that that are struggling, I'm happy to do an introduction. I'm happy to talk to people. I'm happy to reach out to people that are in need, because one thing is, it's not worth your life, and it's not worth doing something silly, just because of money and because of a business. That means if you're at that point when thinking that means your identity is so taken up into what you're doing, when your identity should be outside your business, and your identity should be outside your family. So once you start working on yourself and you start getting the coaches and the support around you, you'll be able to bring that and find that purpose and that identity for yourself. And then a lot of that self-sabotage and attack will drop away. And you know what? A lot of people don't want to talk about it, Andre. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, and people will hide it to put it under the rug. But I think we need to pick up the voice in this area of, especially in this time in Australia and all over the world, because there is high pressure, and there's economic demands and issues. The tax man in Australia is going rife at the moment. They've gone from being, obviously friendly organisation to now just being ruthless because they've been told to get all the money in they can. And this is putting pressure and stress on a lot of people, a lot of families, and is only going to create greater heartache over the next decade.
Well, thanks very much. It's a lot to take away. And again, I'm grateful for this special time with you and picking your brain. Your details, Tim's details will be under the video. Reach out to him because it's time for you to enjoy life and get excited about what else you can create with a business that is providing you the means to live a quality life. Thanks very much, Tim.